Hey there friends, what's up? Kevin here from the MSOTD Rocks YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be doing another Kevin Figures Out video, figuring out if I like the band PVRIS. Before we get started though, please follow MSOTD Rocks on places like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. On all those platforms, you'll get the Song of the Day selection, which is a brand new song every single day from some of the heavy hitters in the scene, along with a lot of the up-and-coming and emerging artists for you to really expand your musical horizons and really get to know other music that's going on right now. Also, you can connect with us on all those platforms. We ask you a lot of questions, you answer them, we'll comment right back, and we love to get to know more about you guys, so just please follow us on those places. On Instagram as well, we also do our IGTV video series, which is Behind the Scenes Look, which comes out every single Tuesday at what's going on here at MSOTD Rocks. And it's kind of nice because sometimes we vent, sometimes we just talk about stuff, whatever it might be. And on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central, we go live on Instagram and you get to ask us any kind of question. We get into all sorts of random stuff. You find out all about it. So please follow us on all those platforms. Please also subscribe to the YouTube channel because not only do you get the Kevin Figures Out videos, you also get other videos such as our albums. We have a lot coming up in February and March. Take a look at our top 10 list because we do a bunch of other top 10 lists, our reviews about emerging bands in the scene today, and of course our year-end awards from 2020, 2019, and 2018. Go back and look at all of those. And this YouTube channel is also where the Chord Progression podcast lives. Yes, it is our very own podcast. We're reviewing all the emerging and sometimes even more established bands in the scene today. In February, we have bands like Modern Day Escape, Rosie, From Ashes to New. We've also have bands like Avoid, Envision. I mean, we have a lot of these bands, so you're gonna wanna check them out right here on our YouTube channel, or if you wanna stream the audio, you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and iHeart Radio. Everything I mentioned, there are links in the description below for everything, so like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, but enough of that, let's go! So why am I doing a video about trying to figure out if I like PVRIS or not? Well, thinking about it, I've seen their name pop up every now and again, but I've never listened to any of their music, and the one thing that really stuck out to me about their name was the fact that it was misspelled where the A was a V, similar to like Landmarks. So again, this is always something that stuck in my head, but it wasn't anything that I really looked into. Also, when I do the Kevin Figures Out series, I get to find out a lot more about the bands that are more female-fronted in the scene. I've done videos on Poppy, Baby Metal, Spiritbox, Diamante, and Ginger, and now PVRIS is the sixth, because if you take a look at the posters on the back, and you look at all the music that I really listen to, most of it is male-fronted and male-dominated, so this gives me a chance to really expand some of those horizons. So how is this video going to work? First, we're going to take a look at the music of PVRIS, really dive deep into it on their 3 albums, and really see what I think about it, really try and get a feel for it, and figure out if it's something that I really like or not. Then we're going to take a look at their image and gimmick and really get a handle on that to see, how they present themselves, how they act on stage. Is this something I can really get behind? Then we're also going to take a look at the community of fans, see if this community is something I can really get into, and how the band interacts with them on social media, because of course we're in a pandemic, can't really see them live and see them pull off some of this stuff. And then we're going to throw all 3 together, mix them up, and then come up with a final verdict. So enough with that, let's get going. Alrighty, now we got to start out by listening to some of the music, so let's get these headphones out, let's have some fun. Well, now that's over, let's talk about it. So first we're going to talk about the album White Noise, which came out in 2014 with the deluxe edition for the album coming out in 2016. And when I took a look at the sound, I of course to take a look at how their sound is and how Lynn Gunn's vocals really mix in with all this. And when I jumped into it, the first thing I noticed was there's definitely a core sound here that they already have built off of this first album when it comes to the instrumental standpoint. So with their instrumental standpoint, there is definitely more of this like pop but very heavy alternate rock synth kind of style, alternative rock feel that really is driven here. And taking a look at some of the bands that they've toured with recently, Fall Out Boy and 30 Seconds to Mars, especially with the more pop alternative synth style, especially later on in their career, and Muse, which have really used it throughout most of their career, this makes a lot of sense as to why they were connected with those bands and why they've toured with them in the past, because their sound really plays off on that. What I mean by this is the style is more focused on a somewhat slower pacing and some heavier synths as well in order to give the songs more of this sonic, cosmic, and somewhat more spiritual feeling at the exact same time. And not gonna lie, especially coming out with this in 2014 to start out with, this does make a lot of sense because the alternative scene really around that time was heavily focused in on something like this, so they really hit the nail on the head, do not get me wrong there. Plus they also infused some pop rock tendencies in there so that those moving to more of the rock crowd have a chance to really get into something like this. So that's kind of where more I would say I would fit in because, you know, you guys know me, punk rock, hard rock, metalcore, that's my kind of thing. But the real question is, what do I think about this? And overall, I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of this, and that's just because of the way that I like my music. In the end, I think PVRIS really knows how to use this sound and this more electronic synth to create that alternative sound that has this more sonic, more deeper emotional connection in more of a cosmic spiritual sense. However, for me, this is something that I don't really care for personally, and that's just because of personal taste. You guys know me, I love the harder, more raw, more visceral sound because that's what I connect with a lot easier. That's where my mindset goes. That's how I connect with bands like Rise Against Ice Nine Kills, Disturbed, Hollywood Undead, Motionless in White, that kind of stuff. And with this heavy alternative poppy synth sound, yeah, at times I just really want to back off, and much like how I backed off on the past Jones from 30 Seconds to Mars, it kind of plays in here. And examples of how this would work is on songs like St. Patrick, Holy Fire. I mean, you look at those songs and they really do stand out with that more heavy pop alternate synth sound that I just really can't get into. However, when I take a look at the vocals from Lynn Gunn on this was something that really stood out to me for the positive because her style of vocal really did stand out amongst the crowd and it was mixed incredibly well to be the focal point amongst all these songs. When I did the Spirit Box one last week, I talked about how Chord's vocals, especially in their debut album, were really well done. However, the mix was really not my favorite because it kept them more in the background in terms of vocal sense. Lynn's vocals on this White Noise album, definitely the difference here because they were over this more synthy, cosmic, alternative style, and they really stood out for the best. And the range she had on this, oh my lord, this was something that really got me happy because there are times where her vocals were more breathy in the verses, so you know, more of that in a way, and they stood out to give up the softer, more deep emotional tone here. Take a look at a song like Holy, this really stands out here. Then also, there were times where there was a more normal singing voice from her and it stood out a lot more with that healthy mixing of like a pop rock, alt synth style of the instrumentation that really made it stand out, like on Mirrors. And when her vocals were louder and more powerful, ooh man, they kind of have this little bit like a raspy tone to them a little bit of a rougher style to them. And I absolutely love that because especially being more of that hard rock, punk rock, metalcore sense, a little bit more of that scratchiness really allows some of the more emotion to be brought out there and just really connect with it on a more sense from a rock fan standpoint and more of a metal fan standpoint. So I really did like the vocals on this one. They were mixed very well and they almost hit every single time. So when it comes down to what did I really think about White Noise? Well, again, I really liked Lynn's vocals on this because they were powerful, they were well mixed in there, and the sounds really never drew them back. They were really more forceful out there. But the alternate poppy synth sound that PVRIS really does work with on this album, it's something that, for me, I just can't connect with because I connect with more of a raw, visceral sound, a little bit more of an in-your-face style, where this is more of a sonic, cosmic kind of feel. And it's just something that I don't connect with. Is the quality of music there? Absolutely it is. But it's something that I really can get myself into? Not really. So I'm going to pass it on this one, and let's go to the next album. So going to 2017, we look at the album All We Know Is Heaven, All We Need Is Hell. And when I listened to it, again, I got the exact same thing that I was kind of expecting, where they were going to focus in a little bit more on that alternate poppy synth sound that was at their base. And again, this makes total sense because it worked so well from in 2014. Stick with that base, go with it to 2017, and just expand on it a little bit, experiment a little bit here and there, and just see what happens. And they really did focus in on this. It does not surprise me in the slightest that they did this. And for their standpoint, I do think it was a good move because it just helped expand their base, expand their band, expand their growth. And again, I'm not gonna lie, it makes sense. But what did I think about this album? And again, it's very similar to what I thought about with White Noise because, again, the heavy bass of the instrumentals is based in that alternate pop synth electronic sound that has more cosmic, deeper, emotional, spiritual connection to it. The very overproduction of it does make sense for their style, do not get me wrong. However, again, this is something that I just really can't get into because when I listen to the music that I like to listen to, like punk rock, hard rock, metalcore, again, the visceral, raw emotion and the energy behind the sound is something that I connect with more in my personal life and can really just get myself into. That's just how my mind works. And when I listen to PVRIS, especially on this album, again, they're going heavy with that pop alt synth style that, again, I make total understanding of why they're doing this. It does make sense. But for me, I just really struggle to get into it because, again, the overproduction just seems really polished and something that I just don't really connect with. Again, I like it loud, more in your face instead of more soothing sounding, deeper penetrating kind of style of the instrumentals. When it comes to that alternate poppy synth sound, there are some songs that really do show it. Take a look at a song like Anyone Else, where the alternate pop synth sound really creates a feel of like a depressed Walk the Moon feel, which, again, that's something that I'm really not able to get into very much. However, I do understand why they made that move on that song, and it really does work out well for them in terms of delivering that message. Take a look at a song like What's Wrong, and we get this anthemic vibe with a slower alt pop sound. And it is an interesting take, like an anthemic build, but the sound, again, with that heavy alt pop synth sound, just not for me. Were there times they did a little bit of a different experimenting instrumentation? And yes, they did. Take a look at No Mercy, where the chorus had this less produced sound, and its raw focus is really fantastic. It gives the song more of a rock feel that I thought it really needed. So this song I actually did enjoy a little bit. And also Winter, where it's a more consistent drum pattern with a faster pace, and it really worked well to make this song stand out with the alternate synth pop sounds that were overlaying it and with how the vocal pattern was. So that was really well done. Don't get me wrong. So I'm starting to see a little bit more of an evolution towards a little bit more of that raw rock side, but again, it's not very much. However, I can see a little bit more of an expansion here, and I am enjoying it. But when it comes down to the vocals for Lynn on this one, she did do the same thing that the instrumentals did, where they stuck with the core bass on this. And there were times where, you know, she tried a couple of different things, one with a little more raw sound, experiment with some distortions in her vocals, some different vocal patterns. And there were times when it worked and times when it didn't. And when I think it didn't work, take a look at a song like Half, where she was limiting her vocal range overall, had more of a monotonous tone to it, and really didn't let the song stand out on that basis. Take a look at Winter as well, with the depressive vocal tone with the distortion of the electronic bass just struggled to really capture the range of emotion that this song really needed. So again, there were times where she wasn't perfect on this, however, there were times where she did this really well. And again, those vocal risks sometimes really did pay off. Take a look at a song like No Mercy. The vocals had a more rough and angstier tone to them overall, which really fit with the more raw sounding instrumental. So for a rock fan like myself that had like that more raw, you know, visceral, in-your-face sound, yeah, I was a little bit more drawn to something like this. Take a look at Nola 1 as well, where the focus on her vocal tone was softer throughout. It reminded me of like kind of Lorde in a way, in terms of just how she was mixing her vocal patterns and experimenting with her overall tone. And with this like alt tropical distortion on the instrumentals, it actually really did work out well. So again, what did I think of this album? And in the end, it just really isn't for me in terms of what they're doing with their overall sound, because again, that heavy alt pop synth sound with that more cosmic, deeper, emotional, penetrating kind of sound, again, it's very overproduced, and it does make a lot of sense for them. And again, their music is constructed really well to hit that market. But for me, it just doesn't really hit me very well. There are times they try a little bit more of a raw sound, and I do like it, but it just doesn't really stand out as much because of the heavy alt pop synthy sound. Lynn's vocals on this one, yes, she did take a couple more risks on this one, where at points I didn't like it, but there are some points where I really did like what she did. So again, she's expanding herself as a vocalist, and I do respect that overall. However, again, personally, with how I connect with music and how I listen to it, this just really isn't for me. So let's go to the 2020 album, see what happens, and then we'll take a real big look at this. Now going on to Use Me in the year 2020, and when I listen to this album, I can easily tell that the sound that PVRIS created on this album really connected well with their fans and really took a step forward into the overall forefront with them in the musical scene. However, again, for my personal taste, and if I like the sound, I thought this was again another step back to really for me to get into them, and let me explain why. When it came down to the instrumentals on Use Me, the band really focused on using more of that electronic bass, and they're really bringing it more to the forefront and really having it be more of the base of their sound, and that was something that really wanted to draw me back in a way. And I get this worked out for them because the alternate pop synth is their bass, it is their sound, and it really does work for them, and they're able to create well-constructed music off of this. I do have to applaud them for that. Again, however, for myself, it's just something that I can't get into. It is really tough. However, for me, there is something that I really could not stand in the end, because the overproduction, again, just takes out the ability for myself to really dive deep into the music and really feel the emotions that are being presented. Songs like Give Me a Minute, Deadweight, and Stay Gold really do put this out there for me. However, there are two songs that stood out for me in more of a positive. Good to Be Alive, because they took this like 90s alt pop synth style vibe and added it with that synth approach as well, and it's a cool move. Not the biggest fan of the mix though, but I like the move that they went with there. and then Loveless, they really dropped a lot of that electronic synth with more of this acoustic ballad feel, and the vocal mix really helped make this one stand out as well. So when it came down to some of the stuff, yeah, I'm starting to see them expand a little bit more, kind of cool. However, again, when they really went deeper with that alt pop synth sound, just again, not for me. Now time to go to the vocal performance from Lynn Gunn, and when I take a look at her vocal performance, and if I have to rank them, White Noise 1, All We Need Is Heaven, All We Know Is Hell is 2, and Use Me is 3. Again, I still think her vocals are really well done on this. However, they were just a little bit more inconsistent at this point, really something that was struggling for me to get into. And on the first time, again, she used her power and distortion just really well to maximize the overall sound. But on this one, I felt the mix was off, honestly. There was times where the mix just really didn't hit for me. There were times where her vocal set worked well, like in some of the verses of the songs where she really went with this more full approach to really maximize on the alternate pop synth sound that the band had gone with. However, when the choruses came on some of these songs, they tried to go soft with the contrast and the electronic sound. It just really was kind of a mess with a little bit more of a softer chorus vocal style. Take a look at Game It and Hallucinations. This one really did stand out here for me. Sometimes the range did stay more consistent though, and that limited the amount of vocal range that she really was able to have on some of these songs to really be able to put them out there. A little bit of a monotonous tone in a way, and that really just kind of took me out of the song in a little bit. Take a look at songs like Stay Gold, Distortion, having a muzzle sound to it, and Good to Be Alive, just kind of a struggle for me to really get into some of those. But when Loveless came into play, again, this is where the vocals really stood out because Lynn's range on this, bringing more of this breathy style song, made this incredibly powerful with the more raw instrumentals. I thought this was a great move. So overall, again, I'm understanding the construction behind these songs, and when it comes to their audience, when it comes to how they're constructed, I think they do a really good job here. However, again, with that heavy alt pop synth sound, it just really sticks out to me as just an overproduced kind of feel that I just can't get into. Again, it's not bad, but it's just something for me personally that I struggle to get into. Again, this is all a personal thing for me. When it comes to Lynn Gunn's vocals, I thought they weren't as good as they were on the initial album or on the second one. However, she did take more risks with this kind of stuff, trying some different things. And on Loveless, her vocals were absolutely spot on with this. That was my favorite one out of all these songs. So when I wrap this all up, do I like PVRIS' music? And the answer is, I absolutely respect that they're great craftsmen of their sound, I should say, and they do a great job in really creating that alt pop synth sound, and Lynn's vocals for the most part are almost spot on every single time. However, that heavy produced alt pop synth sound is something that I really don't get into at all. I like that more raw, visceral, in your face feel, so this is something I'm gonna have to pass on. So now we're gonna go to the image and gimmick of PVRIS, and when I take a look at their music, of course, the gimmick, and that's gonna be the thing that really stands out as the selling point for the band when it comes to their sound, is that alt pop synth sound. Similar to what baby metal does with the J-pop influence and with their metal, again, this isn't something bad, this is just kind of the understanding of what they do. Taking a look at how they present themselves in an image though, this was a little different. So when it came to the image, I went to YouTube, looked at some of the music videos, and this is what I deciphered. First, I watched Use Me, and I was actually really surprised with how much I liked this image on this one, because what they did with the music video was they kept it in color, but they really focused in on some darker tones, and that really does work well with the alt pop synth sound, because the darker tones give this deeper, darker connection within you that alt pop synth sound is able to really focus in on and hit you with a smoother emotional style. However, the imagery behind Use Me, seeing Lynn in some of those compromising positions in the music video, really did work out well, because the tone of the color that was going around her at the time really did work out well to match the overall sound. But also, the compromising positions with the song title Use Me, it fits so well in with the meaning of the song. I mean, this was really done well, and this is something I could really get into. Then I went into the first album, looked at the song My House, and again, this was really interesting because the band was all in dark clothes, but the video was black and white, so you really get a heavy contrast with the darker clothes with the white skin of all three members of the band. And also the way that the other objects in the video were, they had this more lighter tone, so they looked a little bit more white in the black and white sense. And this is actually pretty cool in the way they're able to take that synthy alternative style and really create, again, that darker, deeper connection just off of the heavy contrast within that music video. I thought this was something really cool because that downtrodden feel really does work out well with that alt pop synth sound, and really the black and white contrast within the video. Man, was this good. Watching the video for the song You and I, they took that black and white style video and really focused on it even more and made the contrast even larger. And what I mean by that is that when they focused on the band members, they really took the contrast to make them appear a lot darker in the black and white terms, and the background was very white. So again, you're getting that heavy contrast between the dark and the light tones here. And I absolutely loved how they played with this here, because you're taking a look at the difference between the relationship between you and I. You're taking a look at the brights and the darks of it. You're really seeing the two dichotomies of it. This was absolutely amazing, and I thought this was great. Jumping another video like St. Patrick, yes, they use the same dark looking clothes that they're always wearing, and with the lighter skin that they have, it is a great contrast outfit. It is more in color on this one, but the colors were more pale. They weren't as vibrant, and I thought this was a great move as well, because that alt pop synth sound, again, it's something that's going to end up just having to ooze into you and really sink into you a lot deeper. This makes a lot of sense to go with something like that, because it fits that alt pop synth sound. So when it came to the music videos for their image, I thought this was fantastic. They really understood this, and this was something that I really did enjoy. So even though I wasn't as big on the alt pop synth sound, watching some of these music videos and really trying to figure out what they're doing, this was awesome. But then I wanted to see what happens with them in a live setting, and I watched their performance on YouTube from Writing Festival in 2019, and the performance that reminded me a lot of like 30 Seconds to Mars style during the Love, Lust, Faith, and Dreams era of 2013 and 2014. And the focus on the dark clothing again comes back well, and it just contrasts very well with the deeper tone of the song, and really just brings forward that, you know, deeper emotional just feel that's really going to allow the songs to sink into you. The image really does work out here. Plus, during the lighting show, they really played with a lot more red lights in this way. And again, when I see black and then red lights mixed in there, anytime you mix the black and red color scheme, I'm always a huge fan of that. I love the way it works off, and they really did work this well here. And when it came to the band on stage, yes, there is a little bit, there's going to be the energy there, but it's going to be more of a flowing kind of style. It's really going to work well with that alt pop synth style. For me though, you guys know me. I love the energy that bands bring when it's absolutely crazy. When it's just this concentrated all over the place energy, like Rise Against or watching Caleb Shomo and Beartooth. Or you're going to get something that's just more raw, visceral, and just a little bit more jagged at the same time as well, but also just absolutely crazy. Take a look at Ice Nine Kills, Motion Way, or any other metalcore band. However, this style of performance that just has this energy that just flows consistently, again, similar to like the 30 Seconds to Mars, Love, Lust, Faith, and Dream style, this absolutely works for them because it matches with their sound so well. So I am understanding this. It is something that I'm going to want to go see in concert. You know, it's not going to be the concert experience that I always want to go to, jumping into a mosh pit and potentially getting my head split open and just absolutely loving every minute of it. However, do I understand this style completely? Absolutely, it fits in so well with the music. So when it comes to their image, do I like it or not? And the answer is, I'm actually kind of surprised that after listening to the music that I was going to like this, but I really do like this. They understand how to bring out the message within their music and really understand how to maximize the emotion and the vibe their music puts out through how they present themselves with their image, not only in a live setting, but also especially in those music videos. This is a huge thumbs up for me. Actually, 2 thumbs up, not gonna lie. Now it's time to take a look at how they interact with the community of fans, and if this is also something that I could get into as well. Now, because we're in the pandemic, I really can't jump into like seeing them live or actually getting to see how they interact with fans. So of course I take a look at their social media accounts, taking a look at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram specifically, and taking a look at those platforms from the band pages. I'm not necessarily liking what I'm seeing here, and the reason is because all 3 are very much the exact same. You're seeing comments from different people, you're seeing posts that are very similar throughout all 3, and there's really no comments back from the band's page to some of these people. So you're really not getting that connecting. There just kind of seems more like the driving force behind the band. You're not really seeing anything crazy like them connecting with fans outside of like announcing live streams or anything like that. You're not really seeing any type of connection like an Reddit AMA, foreshadowing on that one. So this is something that's going to be where the band's page itself, again, is something that I'm not the biggest fan of. However, this is the band's page. I'm going to take a look at a member, and I take a look at Lynn specifically on this one because, of course, as the front woman of the band, you're going to be the one I have to look at for this stuff. So let's go to her stuff. So when I took a look at Lynn's stuff, take a look at her personal Twitter and Instagram account. She reminded me a lot of what I saw with Courtney from Spirit Box, where you're going to see some more natural stuff. You're going to see some less curated kind of content. You're going to see them being more expressive themselves, especially on Twitter and on Instagram. Even one of the things I saw was her just performing, trying out some new things live, just, you know, put a video out there, see what people think. And she was consistently commenting on the comments that her fans had sent her. Now, as a fan that really doesn't, or person that I should say really doesn't know what's going on with their music, would I be able to get into this? Absolutely. It's a good chance for me to comment on something and get a response from Lynn on this one. It opens up doors for a lot of people to really get into music. It opens up for people in the community of fans to really understand this. So I'm a big fan of this. Now I gotta go back to that foreshadowed Reddit AMA, because this is something that really interested me. So this Reddit AMA that Lynn had that I foreshadowed, which happened back in 2020, I was curious to see about this because, yes, it's a Reddit Ask Me Anything kind of thing. People are gonna ask a lot of questions, and I was curious to see what kind of answers Lynn would give out to really understand what was going on here. And the answers that Lynn gave out were actually really incredible, and the reason behind it was because people would ask her questions, but not only would she just like give the answer, she would give an explanation behind a lot of this stuff. She would really dive deep into some of the things that people were asking, like, when did you realize PVRIS was going to be a big thing? What was the show that made that happen? There was a weird question about apples in there too that she just willingly answered. It was a little bit shorter, but a lot of the time when she answered, she gave these full answers, which really let, as you were a fan, dive deep into what she's about and really what everything's going on with PVRIS. And this makes total sense, and I absolutely love that they do this, because focusing in on that, again, it's going to let the fans really understand you more as a person, really understand your music more, just seeing how you interact with it yourself. And it really does make a lot of sense for people to really be brought into the forefront and brought into the community fans in more of a positive note. So when it comes down to community fans, what do I think? Could I easily join this? And again, it all comes down to how I connect with the music. And you saw me jump into fandoms like with Rise Against, like I've always been to. In 2019, when all of a sudden I got into Ice Nine Kills, that was super easy to get into as well and just really latch onto. Most of the way, again, all those bands that really are a lot heavier in the scene with their raw, more visceral sound, yes, it's going to be a lot easier for me to jump into that fandom. However, seeing how Lynn personally connects with the fans, this is something where if I ever really dive deeper in that more alt-pop synth sound for some reason and really get into it, PVRIS is going to be a band that I easily can jump into because of how they create this community of fans and how they treat them, especially in their own individual standpoint, especially looking at how Lynn does it. So when it came to the community of fans, this is absolutely a positive for me. I was really surprised to see how this was going to work out, but this was absolutely incredible. I'm a big fan of this. So now let's run this back and let's come up with the overall verdict. Taking a look back again at the image and the gimmick, did I like this? Yes, because they used the darker contrast between black and white to really just bring out this heavier sound and heavier feel within their alt-pop synth sound. It just really works out well for them to really match up their vibe of their imagery with the vibe of their music. And even live, they pull this off as well. How you can get into the community of fans, this is an absolute positive for me as well, once again, due to the fact that even though the band's pages are more cut and dry, you take a look at how Lynn treats the fans and oh my god, this is absolutely incredible. So this is something I could really get into if I really got into that sound. Again, but this is also if I really get into that sound, and I can't really get into that sound because the heavy production and the alt-pop synth sound is really something that I want to pull back on because I just don't connect with it well. Again, I like Lynn's vocals, I like how she used them. I think they have a great construction behind their song and understanding of that bass sound they have. But again, their sound just isn't for me. It's just not something that I connect with. So overall, when it comes to figuring out PVRIS, do I like them or not? And the answer is gonna be not really. But again, this is all a personal tasting because I just can't really get into their instrumental construction. It really isn't something for me. However, if I ever dive deeper in that alternative sound with more of the pop synth feel to it, PVRIS is going to be a band that I easily can jump into because of the fact that Lynn's vocals are fantastic almost all throughout. Even when she takes some risks, and sometimes they don't work out, sometimes they do. It works. It's fine. I can easily understand why people like PVRIS. Again, for me, it's just the sound is not something I really resonate well with, so that's where I'm going to pass on this one. However, the door is left open in case I ever get into that sound where this band is something that I'm easily going to jump into. And if they change their sound, cool, but I don't think they will because they have the bass sound. Take a look at how they've grown with it. If they stick with that bass sound, man, they're going to go far places. Trust me on this. But for me, is it something that I'm going to really get into and listen to? Yeah, probably not. Again, all personal taste. So that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to this video of me figuring out PVRIS. Let me know what you think about PVRIS in the description, or I say the comments below. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on it. And this is Kevin from the MSOTV Rocks YouTube channel. And it with the hat flip. I miss so see ya.